Welcome back, everybody. This is Mod 5 Lesson 4, and we are working on volume. Okay, so make sure you have your paper and pencil ready. And our target for today is I can find total volume of solid figures composed of two non-overlapping regular prisms. In other words, we're going to take two different figures, find the volume for each one, and then we're going to add them together. Okay, just a little reminder about fluency. You should be practicing every day your math facts. You can put some kind of exercise while reciting your math facts. You can use flashcards, or you can play cards with yourself. Just flip the cards, multiply the two, and keep practicing that way. Okay, so let's again look at each of these figures that we have. I have a length, a width, and a height. My length is 3, my width is 4, my height is 2. We're multiplying length times width times height. 3 times 4 times 2. 3 times 4 is 12, times 2 equals 24 centimeters cubed. I'm going to let you look at that a little bit. Okay, the next one. Length times width times height. L times W times H. The length is 4, the width is 4, the height is 10. 4 times 4 times 10. 4 times 4 is 16. Times 10 is 160 centimeters cubed. Remember the 3 because we're multiplying length times width times height. We're multiplying 3 things. Now you'll see here that I have 16 centimeters squared. When they ask you to find the base, they're talking about the length and the width. You're going to multiply them together. And we know when we multiply length and width together, we're getting the area. And that's when we label it squared. Okay? So all you need to do is take that area. If they give you area first, you're going to take the area and multiply the height. And that's going to give you your volume. And we'll do that again. Okay. So let's look at this picture. Partner A and partner B. Today, this is what we are going to do. We're going to take one figure and another figure, and we're going to add them together. We're going to add the volumes of them. We're going to find the volume for A, the volume for B, and add them together. So partner A got 12 cubic units. Partner B got 8 cubic units. If I put these two shapes together, it would be 20 units cubed, or 20 cubic units. That's what our lesson is going to be about today. So let's take a look at some other figures. These figures, there's some different combinations. This is how this one looks. It can also look like that. It can look like this. This one can look like that. This one can look like that. What do we know? Will they have the same answer? Will this have the same answer as that one? Will this have the same answer as that one? Will this have the same answer as that one? What do you think your answer should be? If you said yes, you're right. If you're using the same amount of cubes in each of the figures, the total amount will be the same. The volume will be the same. Just because the picture looks different does not mean the volume is the same. If you're using the same amount of cubes, then your volume will be the same. It doesn't matter what the picture looks like if the cubes are the same. Okay, here's our example of one of the figures that I have for you. We're going to figure the bottom box first, and then we will look at the second cube. Okay, so the first cube, Here's my length, here's my width, here's my height. Length times width times height. 6 times 5 times 4. 30 times 4 is 120 inches cubed. That's going to be for this box. Okay, now we're going to work at the one on the top. From here to here, they have a little arrow. They're telling you from here to here, it's 3. That's my length. This is my width, not the 4. This 4 was for the height for the bottom box. This width is the same as this width, so that was 5. And my height for this one is 2. That gives me 3 times 5 times 2. Length times width times height. 3 times 5 is 15 times 2 is 30. 30 inches cubed. Now, our target today is telling us that we're going to take the volume of one cube and take the volume of another cube, and we're going to put them together. So now I have 120 and 30, and when I add them together, I get 150 inches cubed. So that's my total volume. And that's pretty much, boys and girls, what we're going to do today. Okay, so here we go. Let's do example 2. We're going to do the same thing again. We're going to find the volume of box 1. We're going to find the volume of box 2. And we're going to add the two answers together to get the total volume. Here we go. Let's look at the picture I have for you right here. Okay, the bottom box. Here's my length. Here's my width. Here's my height. Now, here's the trick on this one. The height for this is 4 from the bottom all the way up to the top of the second box. We're going to split that in half, and we're going to make, this is going to be 2, and this is going to be 2. Okay, so 2 meters and 2 meters. Okay? So for my bottom box, I see 6 times 2 times 2. So now I have 12 times 2, which equals 24 meters cubed. Okay. Now let's look at the top box. Now here's a trick. Here, from here to here is 6. From here to here is 4. But we need to know this much of the box. They didn't label that for us. So we need to know that. Look at this for the width. And this much we already said was 2 for the height. So think about what is the length for that top box. Okay, I see from here to here, which is the total, would be 6. From here to here would be 4. So 6 minus 4 would give me 2. See, 4 plus 2 is 6. This whole thing. They just want to know this little bit. So 6 minus 4 gave me 2. So that's my length. So my length is 2 times my width, which is, remember, it's the same width that we use down here. It's sitting right on top of this one. So our width remains the same, times our height, which is 2. So now I've got 2 times 2, which is 4 times the height is 2. I get 8. 8 meters cubed. So I have 8 meters cubed there. I have 24 meters cubed down here. What are we going to do with them? We're going to add the 2 together. All right, so I'm going to come over here and say 24 plus 8 is 32 meters cubed. That will be my answer. So pretty much, boys and girls, we are taking what we've learned in our past volume lessons and we're going one step further. Okay. Let's do this one together. I'm going to guide you through this. Find the total volume of the figures and record your solution. Okay. As you're doing this, I also want you to make sure that you're writing a multiplication sentence. Please don't just go ahead and figure out and say, this is my answer. You know, I like to give you the answer. My big thing is, how did you get that? Okay, so for this one, we need to figure out the bottom box and the top one, okay? Go ahead and figure that out. I'm going to give you a little time to do some on your own. I'm going to guide you a little bit, and hopefully you can follow along with me and write your answers down as we go along. Okay, so right now I want you to look at this bottom box. Okay, go ahead and do the length times your width times your height for the bottom box. I see 15. Don't forget, this is the face. The front of the box is the face, okay? So you've got 15 is your length. Your width is 4. And your height is 6. Okay. Look at the top box. Length times width times height. Okay. Now, let's label this top box before we say length times width times height. I've got 7 is my length. They're just trying to trick you. They're putting it on this back line instead of this one. It's the same thing. It's the same measure. So your length is 7. Your width is going to remain the same. Here's my width. There's your width. Same thing. This box is sitting on top of this, but it's just shifted down. So your width is remaining the same, which is 4. And your height for this box is 3. So when we come over here, your length is 7. Your width is 4. You're plugging into all of your letters. Length is 7, width is 4, height is 3. I strongly encourage you to continue each time we use volume to write length times width times height, and under each one, plug in your answers. This will always remind you that we are talking about volume. Okay, 15 times 4. If you don't know what 15 times 4 is, come over to the side. It is 60. 60 times 6 gives you 360 inches cubed. For this one, 7 times 4 times 3. Okay. 7 times 4 is 28. 28 times 3. And if we don't know that off the bat, then we come down here and we figure it out. 8 times 3 is 24. 2 times 3 is 6. Plus 2 more is 84. 84 inches cubed. What do I do, boys and girls, with these two? We add them together. Okay, let's do that. 360 plus 84 gives me 444 inches cubed. My total volume for this whole figure. Okay, I hope you wrote that down. This is a really good example for you to look back at when you're doing your homework if you have any questions. This is my little sheet that I have here for you to look at. Okay, 360. Yes, that is correct. Okay, so let's move on. All right, so now what do you do when you get a box that's a square? All of the cubes are, the length, the width, and the height are the same, okay? They have the same measurement, so take a look at this. This is the face, okay? When they say double could be 8 times 4 times 4, that means if we doubled the face, if we made another one of these and had another box next to it, I could have said 2 of these and then multiply your width and your height. That's why they're saying double it. Double the face. Okay, these are just giving you some other dimensions of how you can take all the same measurements, all your factors. Okay, so 4 times 4 times 4 gave you 64. If I had to double that, which meant show me another picture of that right next to it. I'm going to draw this best I can. There we go. I'm trying, guys. There we go. Okay. If I did the same thing over here, it would be another 64 meters cubed. And if I added them together, I would get 128. Okay. So what they're trying to tell you is 3 factors that multiply to get the same value. Okay, this is showing you half. Could be 4 times 4 times 2. They took the height and they chopped that in half. Okay, so let's look at let's take a look at this one. What do you think your answer could be? The combined volume of 2 identical cubes is 128 cubic centimeters. What is the side length of each cube? What do we know right off the bat? So what do we know right off the bat? We just went over this. That what? That if you're looking at this box and this box, and this looks like a square to me, so that would mean that what? Maybe you said that the length, width, and height need to all be the same, if it's a square, of course, for each cube. When you add the totals of each volume, you would get 128 cubic centimeters. That's if this is 4, 4, and 4. And if this was 4, 4, and 4. Okay. Okay. Okay, this is a little trickier, and I'm going to walk you through this. And I'm going to give you a little time to, I'm going to walk you through on how to label it. And then you boys and girls can try to figure this out on your own. I will give you, it says try this one on your own. I'm going to give you 5 minutes. And I'm going to have you mark up your question, label your box, and then figure out how to solve it. I want to make sure you also give me your multiplication sentence. So make sure when you're figuring this out, you're showing me something that looks like this. Your length times your width times your height. Okay? And then label it by saying V equals your length times your width times your height, and then give me your answer. And then when you're done, circle it up so I know, and label it. So here we go. A rectangular tank with a base area of 24 centimeters squared. That's really important. We're going to mark that up. This has a base. Remember what I told you what a base was? We'll go over that. Is filled with water and oil to a depth of 9 centimeters. Depth. That's the height of it. Okay, so when they say depth, that's the height of it. So we know how high that is. That's the H in our formula. Okay, of 9 centimeters. Okay, the oil and water separate into two layers. When the oil rises to the top, okay, so if the thickness of the oil layer is 4 centimeters, what's the volume of the water? Here we go. Here's my picture. Okay. The depth they told us was 9 for the total of oil and water. So that's where I labeled the height 9. Don't forget now, they told you the area was 24 centimeters squared. That would be the length and the width. Remember, the base equals the length times the width. And if they gave you 24 centimeters squared, they already figured out the length times the width. So they already told you the length and the width was this. Was already 24 centimeters squared. Now on this side over here, I've got this little squiggly with the little question mark. This is what they want to know. I need to figure this part out so that I could understand what the top, it's like putting two boxes on top of each other, but they didn't use cubes. We could figure out this top one, but we can't figure out this bottom one yet because we don't know what this is. So how would we figure that out? If I have a whole depth of from the bottom to the top of 9, and I have just for the oil was 4, what would this be from here to there? How would you figure that out? Go ahead and write something down. Give you a little bit time to figure that out. Okay, I would say 9, the total depth, minus the 4 from the oil gives us 5. Okay, so that would bring me here. I can label this as 5. Okay, so now let's go back to our formula. They want to know the box, the bottom box now. What is this going to be? Okay, what is that going to be? So they already said our length times our width was 24 centimeters squared. So they said our length times our width was already 24 centimeters squared times, and we said our height was, for just the water, was 5. So we're going to plug in 5. Okay, so now I have 24 times 5. 20. 10 plus 2. 120 centimeters cubed. Okay, again, let me stress that if they tell you that your base area is 24 centimeters squared, or any numbers, if it tells you what your base area is, you only take the number they give you and multiply it by the height. So you could say, it can look like this. I'm going to put this in a box. You guys kind of get an idea of the same thing. So they may not give you what a length and a width is, but they might tell you that the base area is something. If they give you the base area, they already told you what your length and width is, and you just multiply your height. Okay. All right. Okay, so remember to complete homework and refer back to this video if you need help. Okay, let's go back to our target. I can find the total volume of solid figures composed of 2 non-overlapping rectangular prisms. So just like this picture right here, you've got, here's one figure, here's another figure. In this picture, they're differentiating them by color instead of different colored cubes. and even having them separated. They have them on top of each other, but they have them different colors, so you could tell the difference. Okay, so don't forget, you've got, let's talk about a few things before you complete your homework. Volume equals length times width times height. Our target today consisted of taking one box plus another box, or I should say cube, and the volume plus the volume of each box to give us our total volume. Okay? And also when we label, we want to use for volume equals our units cubed. Okay? And I also would like you always to remember to write this, making sure that you're making a multiplication sentence while you're figuring these out. I don't want to see you guys just give me the answer. I want to see where you're getting it from so that I can help you. All right, have a good night, and I will see you guys again tomorrow.